Have you ever questioned what you've been taught? Imagine living in a society where asking too many questions could result in a death sentence. Consider a man who not only accepted this risk, but welcomed it as his life's mission. This guy was Socrates, the father of Western philosophy, a soldier, a teacher, and an unwavering pursuit of truth. Join me on a journey through ancient Athens as we explore the life of Socrates, a man who dared to question the fundamental fabric of his society and left a legacy that continues to influence how we think today. Early years in a revolutionary city, Socrates was born between 470 and 468 BC in the little village of Allopexe, a suburb of Athens. His father, Sophroniscus, was a stonemason or sculptor, while his mother, Phanerete, worked as a midwife. The family most certainly lived a comfortable, if not prosperous, existence, enough to equip Socrates with an education that marked him apart. During Socrates' youth, Athens was experiencing a metamorphosis. It had defeated the Persian Empire, solidifying its position as the cultural and intellectual hub of the Greek world. The city developed under Pericles' leadership, who oversaw major buildings such as the Parthenon. But amid this magnificence was a developing experiment: democracy. It was a time of brilliant ideas and also great stress. Socrates was exposed to a rich intellectual environment when he was young. Like other boys his age, he most likely learned to read, write, and study poetry, music, and gymnastics. Athenian boys were also exposed to Homer's stories, the epic narratives of the Iliad and the Odyssey, as well as the lessons of Greek mythology. But even as a toddler, Socrates seemed to be driven to bigger problems, such as what makes a life worthwhile. What exactly does it mean to be good? The warrior philosopher, as he grew older, Socrates fulfilled his civic duty as an Athenian citizen by serving as a hoplite, or strongly armed soldier. His military service included participation in several significant engagements of the Peloponnesian War, including Potidaea, Amphipolis, and Delium. According to reports, he was a remarkable soldier, recognized for his bravery, resilience, and self-control. One story stood out. At the Battle of Potidaea, Socrates rescued the life of Alcibiades, a young soldier who had carelessly charged into enemy lines. Socrates ferried Alcibiades to safety, gaining the young man's lifelong respect. Despite his bravery, Socrates never sought recognition. When others were rewarded for their valor, he declined, claiming that genuine glory derived not from external awards, but from virtuous behavior. The agora and the art of questioning. Following his military duty, Socrates returned to Athens and began the work for which he is best known. He became a regular in the agora, Athens' busy marketplace and public plaza. There, he spoke with people from all walks of life, including merchants, legislators, artisans, and young, aspiring minds. His method was groundbreaking. Socrates did not lecture, he questioned. Using what we now call the Socratic method, he posed probing questions to highlight discrepancies in his companions' ideas. Imagine you're at the agora, and Socrates says, "What is justice?" A simple question leads to a network of deeper questions, revealing the preconceptions of even the most confident Athenians. Socrates' constant probing has gained him both admiration and contempt. For some, he was a wise instructor. Others saw him as an obnoxious outsider who was constantly questioning authority. Athenian politics and Socratic influence. Socrates lived through one of the most violent periods in Athenian history. The Peloponnesian War, 431 to 404 BC, devastated the city. Following its defeat, Athens briefly fell under the control of the 30 Tyrants, a cruel oligarchic dictatorship. Two of Socrates' old students, Alcibiades and Critias, were significant figures in these political upheavals. Alcibiades betrayed Athens, and Critias became an infamous member of the 30 Tyrants. Although Socrates never condoned their activities, his contact with these figures harmed his reputation. Many Athenians saw him as a dangerous influence, someone whose teachings had perverted the youth. The trial of Socrates. In 399 BC, Socrates was taken to trial. His accusers accused him of corrupting Athens' young and impiety, which included failing to worship the city's gods and creating new deities. But these charges obscured a more serious issue. Socrates' thought was viewed as a threat to Athenian democracy and tradition. During the trial, Socrates presented a forceful and unapologetic defense. According to Plato's Apology, he claimed to be a benefactor to the city, comparing himself to a gadfly buzzing a slow horse to get it awake. "The unexamined life is not worth living," he said, asking the jury to prioritize truth over comfort. The jury found him guilty by a little margin. When asked to recommend his own penalty, Socrates, with customary humor, suggested that he be rewarded with free meals for the rest of his life. This daring idea probably sealed his doom. The jury sentenced him to death. The final days, Socrates spent his last days in prison, surrounded by friends and students. They begged him to leave, but he refused. Socrates believed in the rule of law, however faulty it was. To flee would jeopardize everything he had stood for. On the day of his execution, Socrates consumed a cup of hemlock, a poison with calm resolution. His final documented words were to his companion, Crito, "I owe a cock to Asclepius. Repay the debt." Scholars debate the meaning of this obscure phrase, but many feel it reflected his view of death as a release from the soul's attachment with the body. The legacy of Socrates. Socrates left no writings. Everything we know about him comes from his students, primarily Plato and Xenophon. Plato's dialogues exalted Socrates, depicting him as a martyr to truth and reason. Socrates' impact on philosophy was enormous. His emphasis on inquiry and critical thought paved the way for ethics, epistemology, and logic. His theories influenced generations of scholars, including Plato, Aristotle, and current philosophers. But Socrates' greatest legacy is his challenge to us to question, seek truth, and live examined lives. In conclusion, Socrates was not only a philosopher, but also a person who followed his ideals, even if it meant risking everything. His life and death serve as reminders that humility is the foundation of wisdom, and that the quest of truth is a noble, if not always easy, road. Thank you for watching, and until next time.